Welcome back to MSG PM, presented by 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven, take it to 11. And speaking of 11s, we got one of the most famous ones right here, Rod Strickland, joining Jeff Johnson and myself. And we got you in the building, so we got to talk point guards. Got to talk Knicks point guards. And Knicks fans are very excited about the addition of Jalen Brunson. What are your thoughts on his addition to this team?
I think it's a great addition. He's been a winner. He's been a top player since he's been in high school. He's only gotten better. I want to say he won 2 national titles. So he's a winner. He knows how to play, great IQ, can get his own shot. But I think he can play in whatever system. So I think the Garden will like Jalen.
All right. Now changing gears to one of the greatest point guards in this current era, and we're giving that generational talk, Steph Curry winning his 4th title with the one. You already see, he had to sit back because he's ready to talk. What do you think about him currently as he stands and just his legacy overall winning this last title?
I mean, he's obviously one of the best. I don't know where to put him. I have to look at that, but he's obviously one of the greatest players to ever play. I mean, just the fact he transformed the whole game to jump shooting. Like, he single-handedly did that. And the way the game looks now is absolutely because of him. And that says a lot. But so skilled as a shooter, probably the best we've seen. Off the dribble, catch and shoot, with range, circus shots, handles the ball. So he's incredible. I mean, the fact that he changed the way the game looks. The game is 4 or 5 guys out. A lot to do with Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry.
Yeah. Now, Coach, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about your godson, Kyrie Irving. And, he's been a little bit of controversy. Is he staying in Brooklyn? Is he being traded?
Right.
He's still one of the most incredible talents in this league. Just as somebody from either the outside looking in or as a family member, what situation would you like to see Kyrie in coming in this season? Would you like him to stay in Brooklyn, or would you like him to go somewhere else?
Whatever situation feels good to him. It doesn't matter. I think Kai is, and you can call it bias, but when I look at the players that I've seen since I've been playing basketball, the most skilled player I've ever seen. Now, you want to put Steph in there, you want to put Isaiah Thomas in there, but he can do a lot of things on the court. And if there's somebody I want to give the ball to and make a shot at the end of the game, I'll give it to him.
Incredible.
He's a killer. I mean, the game comes easy to him now. He gets to his spots. So whoever gets him, whether he stays in Brooklyn or he goes somewhere else, he's going to be, he's going to be a challenge for whoever has to defend him.
We got to figure out prime Rod, prime Kyrie. Get the time machine.
I would love to see it.
No, I just want buckets and crossovers, and we win.
We've kind of had that combo. Now you know what he's going to say.
Oh, yeah, of course. He said it to Kobe. Where you going? You know what I'm saying? He's not fair to nobody.
He never lacks for confidence. And we don't lack for confidence here because we're going to get right into rapid fire with Rod Strickland. Rod, are you ready? We're going to throw you some questions. You just answer straight up, all right?
Let's do it.
First question. John Wallace believes upstate New York is the hotbed of hoops. Is it true?
John losing his mind. And that's my guy.
Yeah.
But nah, New York City, without a doubt, is too much history.
Let's talk about it. Next question. Who was the most surprising or tough matchup for you as a player?
Surprising or tough? Well, I mean, there's so many. I can go to Tim Hardaway, Kevin Johnson, Gary Payton. I know I'm missing some guys, but I mean, every night was a tough night. It was a tough night.
A lot of great players in your era. Who is the one that every night you saw him on the schedule, I'm playing great against him?
Who was food?
I can't answer that question.
All right, so fifth. After 11 gives the fifth. 11 giving the fifth.
All right.
The fifth, for sure.
All right, and let's talk about another great point guard, AI. How'd you fare against him?
Man, you felt like food with him. AI, and I'm surprised I didn't say his name, but AI was an absolute challenge. Because first of all, you knew he was going to get 25 to 30 shots. He's explosive, super confident, speed, athleticism. He was a nightmare. a lot of times playing against AI, I was hoping he shot the ball well early.
Yeah.
You know, because I always thought about the law of averages. So, you know, when he got off to a bad start, you knew you might have a bad, ending.
You know, he was going to finish strong, like he always did. We talked about Kyrie, we talked about Iverson, we talked about a lot of players. Is there anyone playing right now that you think resembles your game the most?
I don't know if it resembles my game, but like kind of an old school feel, and he's really, special. Obviously, it's Ja Morant.
Yeah.
You know, I just think his IQ, athleticism, the way he plays, he's not three-point hungry. He just hoops, he'll give it up when he has to. He'll score when he has to. Kind of got an old school, new school kind of feel to me.
Yeah, I feel like everybody loves watching Ja Morant play, even his opponents. Other than New York City, what was your favorite city to play in?
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
For sure. Just the stars, the front court, court side.
The show.
Just that, that feeling,
What's one thing that you learned as a player that you brought to your coaching now?
Competition, competing. At the end of the day, is who competes harder, which comes with focus and, taking your time working on the court, but just that competitive edge, when that ball is in the middle, is it mine or yours? If I need a stop, am I going to stop you or I'm going to let you go by me and ask for help? So it's just being competitive.
All right, and before we get out of here, I need to know, this is the most important question.
Very important.
The one food that feels like home.
The one food that feels like home.
Yes, that always feels like home.
Well, I'm a guy, even when I played, if you give me some spaghetti and meatballs, meat sauce, I'm good. So most of the time, any kind of Italian food, I'm good.